Welcome to the Career Slay podcast, the show where we talk about career growth, courageous leadership, and life-work alignment. I'm your host, Kelly Poquiz Burke, and I'm here to help you achieve sustainable success and slay the fear in career. Kendall Berg is the force behind That Career Coach, a nationally recognized platform that equips professionals with the skills they need to decode the unspoken rules of corporate life and accelerate their career growth. Through her coaching, content, and corporate trainings, Kendall helps high-achieving professionals develop the critical competencies that lead to real progression: executive communication, strategic visibility, influence building, and organizational awareness. The result? Her clients don't just survive corporate, they rise through the ranks, earn recognition, land promotions, and create a career path that reflects their full potential. Kendall, I'm so excited to have you here on Career Slay.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and to slay the day.
Yes.
You. There we go. That's very kitschy, but
It is. I'm going to name that as my newsletter. Stealing that TM.
Slay the day by Kelly. Love it.
Love that. So I love to start from the beginning, especially with my guests who have these amazing careers. Let's talk a little bit more about what were you like as a kid growing up?
I, similar to now, like to do too many things, I think is a good summary of young Kendall. So I grew up in a very competitive part of Dallas. I know you're familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in, National Honor Society and French Honor Society and orchestra and cheerleading and all AP classes and taking college courses, did all the things at the same time. But if you go back even further than that, when I was 5, I think I tried to convince my sister to start a lemonade business with me where we would set up multiple stands throughout the neighborhood and we would enlist other kids to help us sell the lemonade and we would take a profit share. So very
Profit sharing.
entrepreneurial. And I blame my dad because he used to make us do business cases if we wanted to go to the movies. Okay, what's my return on investment if I pay for your movie ticket? What are you getting in social equity out of this? And so very business minded, very driven, very type A, very organized from birth, basically, I think would be a fair way to describe my childhood.
Oh my God. I love the fact that you were so entrepreneurial and a hustler from a young age.
Hustling. Gotta
Where did you end up going to school and what did you study?
I spent my first year at the University of Colorado in Boulder. And then after that, I transferred back home to be closer to my family and graduated from University of North Texas. My degree is in economics and mathematics. So I'm a very math-oriented person. I like when a problem has one answer and not an interpreted answer. So when I studied that, my father was like, what are you going to do with that? What does somebody do with an economics degree? Are you going to become a teacher? What are you going to do with a math degree? And I was like, I don't know, I'll just figure it out. And so I went to school at night and I had a job full-time during the day. And so it was something that was very low effort for me to study to make sure that I was still getting good grades while I was at UNT. So yeah, I studied math and economics. And ironically, my CTO in my current role studied math and economics. I mean, he went to Harvard, so, good for him. Same thing, basically. So kind of an odd pairing, I think, when I was studying.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a unique combination, especially since there's not a clear-cut career path that comes out of it. So what did you end up doing after you got out of school? And if somebody is not familiar with your work, if you could just, at a high level, give us the ebbs and flows of your career path.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I graduated, there was no clear step forward, right? And that's very daunting for somebody like me who's very security focused and risk adverse. And so I started smuggling myself into job fairs. So UNT's campus did a lot of accountant job fairs that were open only to the accounting community. Well, I was economics and mathematics, but not accounting. I didn't have a background in a business degree. And I had a friend in the accounting department who would open a side door so that I could get into these job fairs. Okay, so this is entrepreneurial mindset. Okay. And I would take my resumes and I would go to all these booths and I would talk to these people like, we're really hiring accountants. I'm like, I'm not an accountant, but here are all the things I could do for you. Here's all the problems I could solve. And I had my resume and I would go to all these job fairs. So I did a lot of accounting ones. I did a lot of finance ones, a lot of business ones. And I met an individual at one of those job fairs who really liked my style, but basically told me like, hey, I can't interview you because I have to hire an accountant for this role, but I have somebody who might be interested. Would you be willing to chat with him? And I'm like, heck yeah, I would. So I meet with this individual on campus. We talk, we get along really great. We have great chemistry. And he brings me in for an interview and I sit down with him and one other individual. And they're asking me all these questions. What do you think about our marketing strategy? How would you optimize pricing? All these things that were way above my pay grade as a recent graduate with barely any work experience. And at one point they said, hey, we're changing our business model. This is what we're going to do. What do you think? And I said, I don't think you understand your core customer and you're going to lose a lot of money before you make any money.
Wow.
Ballsy, right? I'm like, so I graduated college at 20. So I'm 19 during this interview. Very ballsy of me. And the guy who brought me in looks at the other guy and goes, I told you. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. And the individual brought me in and goes, so this is the CFO. We need someone who's willing to say the hard thing and go fix a bunch of stuff for us while we're in this transformation. And I think you're the right fit. And I was like, I just told the CFO that his business plan is dumb. Oh my God. Right. So then I'm panicking. So anyways, they end up offering me the job and I started as really like an internal consultant. They would airlift me into audit and say, hey, audit needs to run more smoothly, help them figure it out. Then they'd put me in marketing, then construction, then pricing, then supply chain, then finance. So I worked a lot of different things in a very short period of time, got a lot of business exposure, which was really, really cool. Still to this day, one of the opportunities I'm like most thankful for in my career because I learned more in the 2 years that I worked for the two of them than I did in like the 7 years that followed that. And then I moved into data science. So with my background, I built a lot of models. I was doing a lot of data science, a lot of analytics, still operating kind of as an internal consultant, being kind of airlifted in different areas. And at one point in my career, I had a VP who was like, what do you actually want to do? And I was like, I just want to solve problems nobody's solving. And he was like, great, bring me a problem that you want to fix. So I did a bunch of research and I realized that the system that we were using internally was wasting a lot of time. It wasn't very efficient. It didn't give our operations folks the information they needed. And I took a pitch to him and was like, I want to rebuild this system. I want to build something that sits on top, that's prettier, that's easier to use, that's faster. And I think if we do that, we can get 30% more efficient in our employee base. I had no tech experience, no background in software development. I was a data scientist at best, analyst at worst. And I was like, I don't know how to do this, but this is what I think we need to do. And he said, great, we're sending you to a 48-hour product management training. You'll have 8 developers when you get back. Build it. You have 6 months.
Wow.
And we drove a 38% efficiency increase in the organization in that time period. And I always joke, it went live the day my daughter was born. So I'm in the hospital texting my lead developer, like, how's it going? Have we found any bugs? And he's like, for the love of God, please have a child and we will talk about it later. And I was like, but both of my babies are being born on the same day. Like, this system is like, it needs to be live. So that is how I transitioned into tech. And so a lot of what I found in my career was about following the things I was naturally inclined for and the things I was really good at. What I wish I'd had somebody help me with was doing that more intentionally so that I didn't wait until somebody said, hey, what do you think we need to be doing? That I had been more assertive and more clear in my self-advocacy. Because in the middle, in between working for the CFO who really appreciated my direct style and becoming this tech lead, I had a VP in the middle who said, everybody loves working with you and having you on their team because you're so efficient and nobody likes working with you.
Wow.
Until you fix that nobody likes working with you, you're now stuck forever. And that was a big kick in the behind in my career of like, okay, what does that mean? And how do I stay true to who I am, stay authentic to who I am, play to my strengths, but do it in a way where I'm more collaborative. I get along better with my coworkers. I'm building better relationships. They like working with me and they want me to be successful. And that's what really started me on the path to where I am now with that career coach, which was, how do you learn the soft skill pieces? Because I was not good at that. All right. I was very brash, as you heard in my example, telling the CFO that his business model was bad in an interview when I was 20. I was very argumentative. I wanted things done a certain way. I was used to math and economics where there was one right answer and there was no arguing about it. And I got into the corporate world where there were many possible answers and I felt the need to defend my own. And so I started really investing in building soft skills, building relationships. How do I navigate all these strong personalities that I work with while leaning into what I'm good at? And then my career moved very quickly. I got 5 promotions in 6 years. I was offered a CFO-ship before I turned 30 of a growing startup. And I was like, great, this is it. And then I said no to the CFO role. And my husband still to this day is like, remember that time you worked hard for like 12 years to get a CFO role, and then when you got it, you said no? I'm like, yeah, I do. You can just get past that stuff. And then I really shifted into what I do now, which is career coaching, giving people the tips I wish I'd had early on in my career to still be authentic, but communicate effectively, advocate for myself, play to my strengths, understand what my strengths were in the first place, and build that success so that I could have moved faster than I did now that I look back with hindsight. There were phases where I was like, I'm killing it. Look at me working for the CFO. And then the next job, I was like, nobody likes me. And then the next job, I'm like, cool, let me build this tech system I've never built before. Then I got offered a CFO-ship and I turned it down. And I was like, great, what am I doing with my life? So there were all these different ebbs and flows that kind of led me to where I am now. But my goal is to help people avoid quite so many highs and lows and stay a little more in that continuous progression stage as they lean into their careers.
Wow, there's so much there that I want to dig into. My first question is, why turn down a C-suite role when you have the opportunity? And I think this is an important question for ambitious professionals who are just so stuck on climbing the ladder and then not knowing when to stop. And so I'm curious to ask you why you felt like that wasn't the right fit for you.
Yeah. So I know, Kelly, that you can empathize with this because you've also made drastic changes in your career, right? And for me, I took every role with the idea that I wanted to be a CFO. That first CFO that interviewed me, I told him in that interview that I wanted to be him. And like, that was my goal. And when I got to the point where I was offered the role, I had just had my first child. I didn't know it yet, but I was pregnant with my second child. And my family was a really high priority for me at that phase. And even in talking to the CEO, even in talking to the board, even in talking to the other executives, they kept mentioning how they would work late on nights and weekends, how they would have big releases that needed additional support, how the board meetings were every Saturday morning. You know, there was not going to be a lot of work-life balance. And while it was a goal I had strived for, and I wanted those 3 letters on my resume, I wanted them after my name on my LinkedIn, I found that when I evaluated holistically what I wanted my life to look like, it was no longer the right fit for where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
And what I would say to anyone listening is there will be times in your career where what you want changes, and that's okay. But you have to listen to that gut instinct, because what a lot of us do is we say, oh, but I've been working so hard for this. It's the next step. Like, I'm just going to force through it. I'm just going to suffer for 3 years. I'm just going to take this role, even knowing it's wrong for us. And that's how you end up in burnout. That's how you end up miserable. That's how you end up losing time to invest in your family, your spouse, your friendships, your hobbies, and you lose pieces of yourself along the way. So for me, it was that holistic evaluation of like, is this the right fit for where I'm at in my life right now? Is this what I want to do? And when I realized the answer was no, I was like, why am I trying to force it? I'm pushing myself into something I don't even want for 3 little letters. And it wasn't the right move.
That is just so courageous to say that this is what I prioritize in my life. This is what I value in this moment. And then finding that alignment between work and life. And I mean, I feel like you're still crushing it, just like absolutely crushing it. So your day job is you're a director of IT and a chief of staff. Tell us a little bit more about what does that look like in your day-to-day?
So I work for a chief technology officer who is amazing. He's a great leader. And the reason that I start with that and not necessarily exactly what I do is I find that what brings you the most misery in your job is working for the wrong people. And what attracted me to this position in the first place was that this was a leader who genuinely cared about what was happening in his organization. He genuinely cared about making the team better, making the company better. He has a really high level of attention to detail, which I think makes some people very nervous. I always joke when I first started working for him, we had 2 meetings back to back. And in one, I mentioned 27.5 and in one, I mentioned 27.4. Like I rounded up in one meeting and rounded down in another. And he honed in on it like a beacon. And he was like, did the number change? What happened in the last hour? Why wouldn't that be 27.5? And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have to be super careful with you. Good to know. But it's because he cares and he's really invested and he's really active and paying attention. And so my job working for him is ensuring that all the things that are not necessarily IT related are getting done in an effective way. So do we have the right people? Do we have them working on the right projects? Are we prioritizing the right things? Do we have strategic roadmaps in place? Do we have the right financials? Are we tracking to our financials? Are we hiring the people we're supposed to be hiring? All of those pieces that have to happen for an executive to be successful, but don't necessarily fall in any of the sub-teams that would traditionally exist in an IT structure. So it's a really interesting job. It's really rewarding. It's a lot of problem solving of, I joke a few weeks ago, somebody's like, hey, this project's gone off the rails. What's our plan to fix it? It's not a project I'm involved in. It's not one that I'm leading. I have no idea what's happening. And I'm like, give me 2 hours. And then I'm running around like a crazy person figuring out what happened. Why'd we go off the rails? What's the solve for it? Do we have a roadmap of getting us back on track? Who needs to lead that? Do we have ownership and setting up that cadence so that I can come back and say, hey, leadership team, we've got it figured out. Here's our plan to move forward and make sure that these things keep progressing. So it's very rewarding. It's very interesting. And it's a good intersection of a lot of different things I've done. I've worked in tech, I've worked in data, I've worked in analytics, I've worked in finance. And this is kind of where they all came together to be like, hey, do you want to be the right hand to an executive to make sure that that executive can focus on what they need to do? So I really, really enjoy it. And I have a great team. So it makes it pretty enjoyable.
I mean, it sounds like you've got your hands full with a very high profile, busy job. How do you make room for your other job, which is that career coach?
I'm lucky that I have a really supportive leadership team at my corporate job. A few years ago when my business did get really big, I had an honest conversation with my boss where I was like, I just don't think I can do both. Like, I don't think this is sustainable. And we had an open dialogue of like, okay, what do you need then to feel like you could do both? What do we need to give you as a company to ensure that you're capable of balancing both? And then let's get it in writing and get a contract in place. So they were really, really supportive of me running TCC, which makes it much easier for me to do that. I think the hardest part, and I share this because if you're listening and you're like, oh my God, I feel so busy already, taking on a more senior role or taking on a side hustle would be overwhelming. The hardest part of it is the mental load. It's all the different pieces that I have to remember need to take place. It's running the podcast. It's making the content. It's making sure LinkedIn is engaged. It's making sure that my clients are getting enough attention. It's making sure that my spouse still gets to see me every once in a while, that my kids still feel supported by me. I can go to their events, right? The hardest piece is the mental load of carrying all the things. But what I have found is really helpful from a tactical perspective is I do a lot of day blocking. So there are certain days of the week where I do certain things to ensure that I'm operating effectively. So like all of my content I make on Mondays so that all the content's done for the week. I don't have to stress about it. I'm not worried about making content on Thursday unless a CEO goes to a Coldplay concert and then maybe we shift some things around. But other than that, like Monday becomes my content day. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays are for clients and making sure that they feel supported. Fridays tend to be my podcast recording days, as well as my follow-up. So in my business, I really compartmentalize what I'm doing when so that it is sustainable. And then with my work schedule, I'm making sure that I'm prioritizing the right things at the right time. So a lot of my clients happen outside of work hours, which makes it a lot easier. But the ones who happen during work hours, am I making sure that if the CEO messages me, I am still available because that is still a key part of my job and my responsibility. and then making sure that my clients feel like they're getting enough support. So it's definitely a balancing act. I say this on almost every podcast, but I'm lucky I have a really supportive spouse who is willing to help with the kids and drop them off. It's lucky that I have a lot of support. It's lucky that my company is also really supportive. I think there's a YouTuber that I follow who boss fired them the second they found out they were making content. And I hear that.
Oh gosh.
Times. So like,
yeah,
I was lucky that I was in a position where my leadership was like, no, we want you to stay. We're cool with it. We just need to have it within these parameters. And we all agreed to those.
Wow. Yeah. And you've built a successful community in becoming a content creator. What would you say to someone who is just starting out in their content creation journey? And what advice do you wish you would have had when you were first starting out?
So my biggest advice is like, don't overthink it, just post it. The videos of mine that go viral are never the ones that took me a lot of time. Like they're never the ones I thought it through and I had notes and I planned it and I'm like, oh, this is going to be so good. And it's never those. It's the ones where like I'm in my pajamas. I woke up at 2 a.m. with an idea, decided to record it real time and was like, we'll see what happens. Like it's always the ones you never expect. You don't have to have a 3-year social media strategy to get started making content creation. Like just make it and post it. 90% of your videos are not going to get views. They're just not. Mm-hmm. That's the way it works. And you need to just post the dang thing. That's like my biggest piece of advice. I would say when I started out, one of the things I did accidentally was I posted a lot of controversial content. And
how did you not get fired? Let's
right. Well, fun fact. No. There were HR complaints at my company of like, Kendall posted this video and it offended me. And I was like, yeah, that's totally fair. I agree. Like, it is offensive video. What would you like me to do about this? Because in the early stages of my channel, because I wasn't afraid to post controversial content, it did bring me a lot of notoriety early on in my content creation days because people love to complain. And I gave them a really great platform for that. And I did it on accident because what I was saying, I 1000% believed to be true. And I didn't realize it was going to be as controversial as it was. So for context, for those of you guys who don't follow me, my first video said, it doesn't matter how good you are at your job. It just matters who you're good at building relationships with. I still 100% believe that that is true. But people love to hate that. And they're like, it's not true. I'm really good at my job and I got promoted once. And I'm like, that's awesome. I'm rooting for you, boo. But like, I've also seen it at the senior level. I've sat in executive conversations where they said, we really love Kelly. She's great at her job. I can't promote her because she doesn't talk enough, or she doesn't have enough relationships, or the executive team doesn't know who she is, or she doesn't have enough influence. Like at some point in your career, it does become about relationships, even if you're really great at your job. So if you're starting out content creation, stay true to who you are. Don't be afraid to post the controversial thing. If you don't have controversial thoughts, don't make them up just for the sake of driving engagement. That's not cool either. Like, if you do, don't be afraid. The internet loves to hate people. And I get questions all the time from friends who are like, doesn't it bother you? Like half your comments, people hate you. And I'm like, not really. I got more views because Steve in Ohio really didn't like what I said. So like, it doesn't personally offend me. But if it is going to hurt your feelings, don't do it because they're probably going to hate half the stuff and it's gonna ramp up. So even the best content creators get a lot of hate comments. And so you have to have kind of thick skin. You have to be able to look past what user 129784563 said about you in a comment somewhere to like, did I help somebody with this? Did I connect with somebody with this? But overall, just be patient with it. Be authentic to yourself. Don't be afraid to post a controversial thing. Don't be afraid to post the thing where you're not wearing makeup or your hair is not done or you didn't fully flesh out your idea. Like, that's okay. And the last thing I'll say on this is the people closest to you will likely be the least supportive. And I think that's the hardest part of doing content creation is you expect my close friends, my close family, they're going to be like, yeah, go for it. I want you to be successful. And a lot of the time that doesn't happen. And what I have found is strangers on the internet on the whole tend to be nicer about your influencer content creation journey than the people you know intimately in your life. don't expect everybody around you to get your vision or to support you. You have to be strong enough to kind of stand on your own and then go out and build a support system that does value what you're trying to build and create. And, that career coach has been amazing for me because I've met Kelly and so many other coaches internationally. I went to Mexico with 8 coaches 2 years ago who are still friends of mine that I talk to on a regular basis. I've been able to build a group of influencers. Corporate Natalie shared my book last week, and it was like a bit of a fangirl moment for me. Like it's been amazing, and you'll get there, but you have to get through the low views, the lack of support from your immediate circle, the controversy, the hate comments. Like you have to be able to wade through that. So it's not for the
faint of heart. Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's definitely a challenge, but I love content creation. For me, it is my way of giving free back to the world, right? I wish somebody had just told me how to get ahead in my career. I wish somebody just told me how to communicate better. I wish somebody had just given me the actual advice I needed and saved me so much time and angst when I was going up through my career. So for me, it's my way of giving that back. So even if half the people hate it, half the people just got the content and the message that they needed to feel better about what they're trying to do. And for me, that's enough. So I think you've got to be rooted in what that purpose is too, if you want to make it through to the other side.
Yeah, there's so much fear, uncertainty, cringiness at times, right? But when you remind yourself of your purpose, then that other stuff isn't as loud. The noise, doesn't fill the room as much. So I want to talk about your book because you've taken that career coach and the advice that you give on your platform and have written a book now called Secrets of the Career Game. Can you tell us a little bit more about what inspired you to write the book and what's the one secret or multiple, if you want to share multiple, that you want readers to take away from the story?
So Secrets of the Career Game was like a labor of love for me, right? I've been coaching for about 8 years now. My business has been fully incorporated for 3. And there were so many things that I was hearing over and over and over again, right? Clients would come to me and be like, hey, I've been told I'm bad at my communication. I don't know what that means. Hey, I've been asking for a promotion and I'm not getting it and I don't know why. And there's so many common threads, right, that we all face in our careers that, again, nobody teaches us what's actually happening. And so we don't know how to get better. And Secrets of the Career Game was my opportunity to make it applicable for people who can't afford or don't want coaching, to make it accessible to people in different languages and different cultures who wanted to learn how to navigate their business more successfully, and to really make a textbook that is a tactical way to navigate your career. Because for me, my biggest frustration with self-development books is a lot of the time they have really great theories, but they don't tell you how to execute. My book is really geared towards like tactically, you want to build a network? Here's a template. Here's what you do. Here's what you talk about. Here's how often you meet with them. Here's how you nurture that relationship. Here's how that you utilize that relationship when you do need a new job or you want advice. Like it's very tactical, which to me, I'm very passionate about. As far as the secrets in the game that I wish you would learn, my favorite one is your boss has no idea what you're doing.
Yes.
Believer in this, right? Even the best boss is too busy doing their job to know everything about your job. They just are. And so if you're not educating them, if you're not informing them, if you're not helping them understand the complexity of what you're doing, why it's important, the impact, the value, they don't know.
Yeah. You got to arm them with the actual ammo to like sing your praises and the results that you drive. Otherwise, I mean, and it's, if you're not willing to do that for yourself, aggregate that for yourself, your boss is definitely not going to do that for you.
Yes. And so that to me is the biggest rule of the book. I can't even remember what number it is now, like 16 or something. But there are 36 just like that throughout the book. But for me, that one, I wish in your first job, your boss went, hey, I'm so glad to have you on the team. I have no idea what you're going to be doing. You need to educate me regularly on what that is, because they don't. And so that's one of the big takeaways that I'm like, hey, if you do read the book, don't forget that one. There are tons of other tips in there. Like I said, it's supposed to be a textbook. Here's how you navigate your career successfully. But that rule for me is my personal favorite, because I didn't realize that my boss didn't know what I was doing until I hit burnout in 2012 and was crying in a conference room. And my boss was like, what's happening now? And I was like, I can't do all this. And he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, this is the list. And he's like, I didn't know you were working on half of these. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't know? He was like, I didn't know. You didn't tell me. And it was such an eye-opening moment for me where I was like, you don't know that I'm doing this stuff? And he's like, did you tell me? And I'm like, no. And he's like, okay, so no.
Yeah.
Let me help you deprioritize some things. Let me tell you what's the most important. And so for me, that's the biggest one. Is like, if I could tell anybody anything, your boss doesn't know what's going on. Not because they're bad or because they don't care, but because they have their own job and they're doing that job, not your job. So educate up all the time.
Yeah, you got to learn how to manage up and manage down. And what it's kind of pointing to is this like broader theme of like advocacy. Like you have to advocate for yourself in your career. So what role do you think advocacy or advocating for yourself plays in your career growth?
What I would say is personal branding and self-advocacy, in my opinion, are the two biggest drivers of rapid career progression, right? They can both slow you down completely and speed you up exponentially. And the reason for that is as you learn to educate effectively. So what I mean by that is don't tell your boss that you sent an email or you scheduled a meeting or you responded to a request. Like they don't care. But when you can start to articulate the work you're doing in terms of the impact it's driving for the business, which means you understand how your job relates to the business, what the goals of leadership are, what the impacts are that you're driving, you're measuring things, you've got metrics and KPIs in place. When you can do that effectively and you can use that to advocate for yourself, you are handing your boss what they need to advocate on your behalf. And that's what's going to drive your career forward. Because to your point earlier, Kelly, your boss is not going to take time to think about what you did, the impact of what you did, the metrics of what you did. They don't have time to measure your whole job that way. And so if you don't aggregate it for them, they're going to be like, oh, Kendall was great. She did a lot of stuff. Right? And so to me, self-advocacy is the biggest shift in growth. And I want to be clear here, where people make a mistake when it comes to self-advocacy is asking for the job without proving why you're ready for it. And so I have clients who come to me every once in a while. They're like, I've been asking for promotion for 2 years. I haven't gotten promoted. I'm like, cool. What did your boss say when you asked them what the gaps were between your performance at your current level and the next level? And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, okay. What did your boss say when you articulated the impact you've had to the bottom line of the company as a result of your efforts and how your scope has increased over the last 3 years? They're like, oh, I haven't done that either. Like, okay, what did you do exactly? And they're like, oh, I told my boss I wanted to get promoted. I'm like, sweet. So that's not enough in isolation. Like, yes, that is self-advocacy. Yes, that begins the conversation. But what do I need to do to grow to be ready for that promotion is also part of that conversation. Here's what I've done so far to be ready for that promotion is also part of that conversation. And so self-advocacy also requires self-investment, self-growth, self-development. And if you only do the advocacy piece without the growth piece, you're going to flatline at some point, and you're going to become one of those people who has a reputation of like, oh, they always want to get promoted, but they're not growing, they're not developing, they're not doing the next thing.
Right. And I was told early on in my career that you want to already be doing the job title that you want when you get promoted, before you get promoted, right? So you want to already be operating at that level above. Like there should be no question about it. I want to say that promotion shouldn't be a surprise either, because this is not a like one and done conversation. It is like a multi-meeting conversation, multi-touch points where you're checking in with your manager.
Yes. And just to add to that, everything you just said, Kelly, is absolutely accurate. The one other piece is your boss should not be the only person advocating for you.
Yes.
You're not going to be there. Your boss is going to be defending you, but who else in that room also knows and appreciates and values you? And that's where the personal brand and the networking side come into play. Is it can't just be your boss. It has to be your leadership, right? Your leadership group needs to think highly of you for you to get promoted. Now, at a very junior level, maybe your boss's word is enough. But as you start to get into the middle management, director, senior director level, you need buy-in at the top of the house. It's one thing for a company to keep promising to promote you on different cycles and not doing it, and not giving your company enough time to actually make the change. So 6 to 12 months is usually my recommendation. Any narrower a time frame than that, your boss just isn't going to have time to start the
Yeah.
conversation, advocate for you, build the relationships, get you on the right projects. So give them at least 6 to 12 months and say, hey, this is my expectation. What do I need to get there? And then work on that investment.
What does success look like for you now? And, you have so many careers, you have so many jobs. But what does success look like for you now? And how has that changed over time?
Such a loaded question, Kelly. We got to have this therapy session today. For me, success has become defined by time. And I think this is a shift as we get older, especially in the entrepreneurial space where time is overcommitted generally, right? We're running a business. So it's easy for me to wake up at 2 a.m. and be like, ooh, I need to remember to do that tomorrow. Or like, oh, I had an idea today. I need to create this thing. So for me, the future state of my success is getting time back, right? Right now, I personally am in a season where I am keeping my corporate job and I'm running that career coach. That's not a sustainable long-term solution for me. I think everybody knows that. My company knows that. My husband knows that. I know that. And so success in the next era of my life looks like getting time back, whether that is going full-time into that career coach and getting time and flexibility back by being a full-time entrepreneur, whether that is, moving that career coach towards more speaking engagements and book engagements and focusing on my corporate career, whether that is, tomorrow I may wake up with a new dream. That's the beauty of life is we can do the things that we want. One of the things I came to terms with today is that move is not going to be immediate for me. And I need to come to peace with the fact that it's going to take time to get my time back. And
wow.
Plan for what that looks like so that I can accept it when it does happen. And so that's the journey that I personally am on right now is like, what is the plan to get my time back? How much time does that plan take? How do I stick to that? How do I build accountability for that? And then how do I start to move progress towards what that success looks like? The same way that we would make a plan to get promoted, the same way that we would make a plan to start a business.
Wow, there is so much there that is so deep and so beautiful. And just the recognition of you setting that definition for yourself is really powerful. And because I think it's easy to take the definition of success that society gives us, but for you to have that reflection and know that owning your time is what success is in this season of your life, that's really powerful. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, and I think if anybody is listening to this, your success is going to change, right? Kelly, you touched on that in the way you asked the question. There have been seasons of my life where success looked like make a boatload of money. There have been seasons of my life where success looked like get a CFO title. There have been seasons of my life where success looked like graduate college or get a degree or get a job. And it's okay that vision shifts. It's not okay, in my opinion, to let the shift happen to you without being intentional with it. So figuring out what your success needs to look like, even if it's not the standard definition, is fine. Waiting until you're drowning to face that is going to make your life way harder. It's not that you can't turn it around, right?
Yeah. Looking back, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Don't cop attitude with the CFO. I'd probably start there. I think for me, my 20-year-old self, there's a lot of her still in me. I'm still very risk adverse. I'm still very stability oriented. I'm still very, I definitely think my ideas are the best ideas, right? We all do. So 20-year-old me, I would just tell her that it is okay to not always have the answer that you want, as long as you're willing to find what the answer could be. And I look back and I'm so thankful for the journey that I've been able to go on and that God allowed me to have to lead me in a totally different space where now I'm an entrepreneur, which I never expected to be, where I live in a different state that I never expected to live in, where, things have happened that were very different than what I had planned at 20. And so just giving her that comfort of like, it's going to work out. It's okay if you don't have all the answers now. Like, just be open to the possibilities and start figuring it out as you go, I think is actually better than the plan I had for myself at 20.
Wow. Yeah, that's beautiful. If you had to sum up your career in 3 words, what would that be?
A roller coaster ride. That's probably it.
Yeah. Strap in.
Yes.
I love that. Well, Kendall, you have just an amazing career journey and ride to share. Thank you for your time today. I think there's so much in here that whatever stage you are in your career, you can get some nuggets of inspiration from Kendall's journey. And where can people find you?
Yeah, if you're interested in learning more, getting free advice, I am that career coach everywhere. YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, as well as thatcareercoach.net if you're interested in picking up a copy of the book.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here, Kendall. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, thanks so much, Kelly. It's always great chatting with you.
The Career Slay podcast is a co-production of Career Slay and Weld Reply. This episode was produced by Asia Lane and Michael Burke, with editing by Jared Atkins and Michael Burke. If you like the show, subscribe and leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And if you're ready to level up, pivot, or lead with confidence, book a coaching discovery call with me at careerslay.com.